The late August heat hit Maya Peterson the moment she stepped out of the Uber, thick and oppressive in the way only Atlanta could manage. 3 weeks. 3 weeks of sleeping in her childhood bedroom in rural Alabama, of monitoring her mother's vitals, of praying in hospital waiting rooms that smelled like disinfectant and despair. But Martha Peterson had stabilized finally, and Maya could go home. Home. The word felt like relief as she dragged her small rolling suitcase across the marble lobby of the Sovereign, one of Buckhead's most prestigious apartment buildings. The doorman, Marcus, who always remembered her name, was off shift. A younger guy she didn't recognize nodded without recognition. Maya was too tired to care. She'd been Maya Taylor for 10 years now, though she still thought of herself as Maya Peterson in quiet moments. Mrs. Devon Taylor. The name had felt like achievement once, like she'd won something. Now, exhausted and unwashed, it just felt like a fact. The elevator chimed on the 30th floor. Maya's shoulders relaxed for the first time in weeks. Their penthouse. A hot shower. Devon's arms. Maybe he'd ordered her favorite Thai food. Maybe he'd drawn her a bath. The hallway was cool, quiet, perfect. She reached door 30A and dug through her purse for the key fob. Her fingers closed around it, the sleek black card that opened their life. She tapped it against the digital reader. Beep beep, red light. Maya frowned. She tried again, positioning the card more carefully. Beep beep, access denied. That's weird, she murmured to the empty hallway. The battery must have died, or the card demagnetized somehow. She pressed the doorbell twice, the familiar two-tone chime she'd heard 1,000 times. Silence, then footsteps, heavy, unhurried. The soft mechanical click of the deadbolt turning from inside. The door swung open. Devon stood there in a silk robe, the expensive one she'd bought him for his birthday last year. But his face held no warmth, no welcome. His dark eyes were flat, almost annoyed. "Oh, you're back already." Already? Maya's brain stuttered over the word. She'd texted him yesterday with her arrival time. He'd responded with a thumbs-up emoji. "Devon, why isn't my key working?" Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "Because I changed the locks." His tone was casual, like he was discussing the weather. Maya's suitcase handle slipped from her fingers. "You may." "What?" From inside the apartment, a woman's laugh rang out. Bright, young, careless. "Babe, who is it? If it's someone selling something, tell them to kick rocks." The voice hit Maya like cold water. She knew that voice. Not personally, but she'd seen the Instagram post Devon liked at 2 a.m. when he thought she was asleep. Brianna Cole. 26, influencer, 50,000 followers, perfect skin and perfect teeth and perfect everything. Brianna appeared over Devon's shoulder, and Maya's stomach turned to stone. The girl, and she was a girl, barely past 25, wore Maya's silk robe. The ivory one with the embroidered hem that Maya had bought herself as an anniversary gift because Devon had forgotten. Again. Brianna's eyes swept over Maya from head to toe. The wrinkled travel clothes, the unwashed hair pulled into a messy bun, the exhaustion etched into every line of Maya's 38-year-old face. "Oh," Brianna said, her glossed lips curving into something between a smirk and a sneer. "It's not a solicitor. It's the ex-wife." Ex-wife. The words didn't make sense. Maya looked at Devon, waiting for him to correct her, to explain, to do something. "Devon, what is this?" The question came out as a whisper. "Who is she? Why is she in our house? Why is she wearing my—" "Listen, Maya." Devon sighed like she was being tedious. "This is over. We should talk downstairs. Don't make a scene up here." He stepped into this hallway and pulled the door shut behind him, leaving Brianna inside their home, wearing her robe. Devon didn't speak as they rode the elevator down. Maya stared at her reflection in the mirrored walls, a stranger with hollow eyes and trembling hands. The smell of expensive cologne clung to Devon's skin, but underneath it, faint and wrong, was Brianna's perfume. something floral and cloying that Maya would never wear. The elevator chimed. The lobby doors opened to the evening rush, residents coming home from work, a couple laughing by the concierge desk, life continuing as if the world hadn't just collapsed. Devin walked quickly toward a secluded corner near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Peachtree Road. Maya followed, her legs moving on autopilot. "Devin, explain this to me." Her voice shook. "Please." He turned to face her, and his expression held nothing. No guilt, no regret, just cold finality. "What's there to explain? It's over. You and me. Done. Finished." "Just like that?" Maya's voice cracked. "After 10 years? After I took care of your mother when she had her stroke last year? After building everything with you from nothing?" Devin's laugh was sharp and bitter. "Building with me from ground zero? Don't be ridiculous, Maya. I'm successful because of my hard work. You—" He looked at her with something like disgust. "You're just a burden, especially after you spent so much time taking care of your mama in that country town. You forgot your duties as a wife." "My duties?" "Yes," Devin pointed at her like she was evidence in a case he was making. "Look at you. Disheveled. Unkempt. I'm a major developer, Maya. I need a partner on my level, not a housewife who can't even keep herself together." The words hit like physical blows. Maya opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Movement caught her eye. A security guard approached, pushing a small duffel bag, the worn canvas one she'd used when they first moved to Atlanta 10 years ago, when they were young and broke and in love, or when she'd thought they were in love. Devin took the bag and dropped it at Maya's feet. Old clothes spilled out. A wallet. Nothing else. "Those are your things," Devin said flatly. "The rest I threw out." He tossed a manila envelope onto the bag. "Divorce papers. Already signed. There's a settlement inside." His voice was clinical now, like he was explaining a business deal. "All the assets. This penthouse, the cars, the company, everything. It's all in my name. You came into this marriage with nothing. You leave with nothing." Maya's vision blurred. This couldn't be happening. This was a nightmare. She'd wake up in her mother's house in Alabama, and this would all be some fever dream from stress and exhaustion. But the marble floor was solid under her knees as she knelt to gather the spilled clothes. The envelope was real in her hands, and Devin's eyes, when she looked up at him, held no trace of the man she'd loved. "You can't do this," she whispered. "I can. I already have." He glanced at his watch, the Rolex she'd saved for 2 years to buy him. "Sign the papers. If you don't fight me on marital assets, maybe I'll be generous. Give you cash for a bus ticket back to Alabama." People in the lobby were starting to stare. A well-dressed woman whispered to her companion. A man in a business suit shook his head, looking away. Maya felt naked, exposed, humiliated on a level she didn't know existed. "Get out," Devin hissed. "Security." 2 guards approached. Their faces showed discomfort, but they were clearly following orders. One of them, Rodriguez, who'd always smiled at her in the mornings, couldn't meet her eyes. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said quietly. "Please don't make this harder." His hand on her arm was gentle but firm. Maya looked back at Devin one last time. "Please," she said, hating the sound of her own begging. "Devin, please." He was already walking toward the elevator. Upstairs, through the glass of the mezzanine railing, Maya could see Brianna's silhouette watching, victorious. The lobby doors hissed shut behind her, separating Maya from 10 years of her life. She stood on the sidewalk as evening traffic roared past on Peachtree Road. In her hands, a duffel bag of old clothes and divorce papers that stripped her of everything. The city moved around her, people rushing to dinner reservations, to happy hour, to lives that made sense. Maya stood perfectly still, and for the first time since the door had opened, she started to cry. Night fell fast in Atlanta. The streetlights flickered on along Peachtree, casting everything in harsh sodium glow. Maya walked without direction, letting her feet carry her away from the sovereign, away from the life she'd known. She ended up at Centennial Olympic Park as the sun bled out behind the skyline. The park was busy with evening joggers, couples holding hands, families with children still hyped up on ice cream. Maya found an empty bench near the fountains and sank onto it. Her phone buzzed. 5% battery. She pulled up her mobile banking app with shaking fingers. Joint account with Devin. $0. Her personal account, the one she'd barely used in years, $47.23. Maya stared at the numbers until they blurred. Devin had cleaned them out. Everything, including the $40,000 she'd inherited from her Aunt Ruth 8 years ago. Money she'd put into their future, into seed funding for Devin's construction company when banks wouldn't touch him. Gone. She checked her credit cards. Declined. He'd canceled every one. The phone screen went dark. 4% battery now. Maya turned it off to save what little power remained. She couldn't call her mother. Martha was still recovering, still fragile. This news would break her. She had no friends in Atlanta, not real ones. Over the years, Devin had not forbidden her from having friends exactly, but he'd made it difficult. They don't understand our lifestyle, he'd say. They're jealous of what we have. Slowly, the college friends had stopped calling. The neighbors had remained neighbors, nothing more. Maya had become an island, and she told herself it was fine. She had Devin. That was enough. Except she didn't have Devin. She had $12 in her wallet and a dying phone. Her stomach cramped with hunger. She hadn't eaten since the airport that morning, just a stale muffin from a vending machine. Around her, the smell of food from nearby restaurants made her dizzy. Barbecue, pizza, something sweet and fried. All of it impossibly expensive when you had $12 to your name. Maya pulled her jacket tighter, though the night was warm. She was going to be homeless tonight. Actually homeless. The word felt unreal, like something that happened to other people in news stories. She opened her wallet again, looking for anything she might have missed. Expired grocery coupons, a library card from a library she'd never visited, and tucked behind the card slot, a faded photograph. Her father. Arnold Peterson smiled up at her from the photo, his dark face creased with laugh lines, his eyes warm behind wire-rimmed glasses. He'd been 58 when he died, 12 years ago, just 2 months before her wedding to Devin. "Oh, Daddy," Maya whispered to the photo. "I'm so sorry. I messed everything up." She turned the photo over, and something else caught the light. A debit card. Faded blue, the edges peeling, the magnetic stripe worn nearly smooth. The logo was barely legible. Heritage Trust of the South. Maya's heart stuttered. She'd forgotten. How had she forgotten? The memory came rushing back. Her father's small house in Alabama, the week before the wedding. Arnold had pressed this card into her hand, his expression serious in a way that made her pay attention. "Baby girl, this is your anchor. I want you to keep it somewhere safe." "Daddy, you don't have to—" "Hush now, and listen." His voice was gentle but firm. "Don't use this unless your ship is sinking. Not for luxuries, not for convenience. Only when you have nothing else. Promise me." "How much is in it?" Arnold had smiled then, mysterious. "Enough to be an anchor. If you ever feel like you're going under, use this. But as long as you can sail on your own, don't touch it. Can you do that for me?" Maya had promised, and she'd kept that promise, tucking the card away and forgetting about it. She'd been so happy then, so sure of her future with Devin. She'd never imagined needing an anchor. Now, sitting on a park bench with nowhere to sleep, the card felt warm in her hands. She had no idea what the balance was. Probably a few $100s from some summer job she'd worked in high school. Maybe 1,000 if she was lucky. Not much, but enough for a bus ticket back to Alabama. Enough to start over. It wasn't hope, exactly, but it was something. Maya stood, tucking the card carefully back into her wallet. She'd sleep here tonight, on this bench. She'd seen other people doing it, the park's homeless population claiming their spots for the night. She'd become one of them. Tomorrow, she'd go to the bank. Maya didn't sleep. She sat on the bench all night, her duffel bag clutched to her chest, watching the park empty and refill with different people. the late-night crowd giving way to the early morning joggers. By 7:30, she was standing outside Heritage Trust of the South, a small stone building on a side street in downtown Atlanta. The architecture was old, solid, nothing like the modern glass towers that housed the big banks. Her reflection in the darkened window showed exactly what she was, a homeless woman with matted hair and yesterday's clothes, clutching a worn duffel bag. Part of her wanted to call Devin, to apologize for whatever she'd done wrong, to beg him to take her back. The impulse was so strong it made her physically sick. How pathetic was she, that after everything, part of her still wanted him. But a smaller, quieter part of her, the part that sounded like her father, whispered, "Keep your dignity, baby girl. Don't you dare crawl." At 8 o'clock, the bank's lights came on. A young man unlocked the door from inside. Maya took a breath that hurt her chest and walked in. The bank's interior smelled like old paper and furniture polish. Nothing like the sleek modern banks Maya was used to. This place felt anchored in another time. Wood paneling, teller windows with actual brass bars, a grandfather clock ticking in the corner. Maya was the only customer. A young black man behind the customer service desk looked up and smiled. His name tag read Jordan. "Good morning, ma'am. How can I help you today?" His eyes took in her appearance, the rumpled clothes, the exhaustion. But his expression remained professionally neutral. "I need to check a balance," Maya said, her voice rough from not using it all night. "The card is very old. I think I've forgotten the PIN." She slid the faded blue card across the desk. Jordan picked it up, turning it over in his hands. "Wow. Ma'am, this is ancient. This is our old logo from the 90s. Let me see if it's still in the system." He swiped the card, typed on his computer, waited. His eyebrows drew together. He typed again. That's strange." He clicked his mouse several times. "The system is being slow. Let me just..." More typing, more clicking. Then Jordan went very still. His eyes widened as he stared at the screen. He read whatever was there, blinked, and read it again. "One moment, ma'am." His voice had changed, higher, uncertain. He stood so abruptly his chair rolled backward. "Mr. Hayes!" Jordan's voice cracked across the quiet bank. "Mr. Hayes, I need you right now." An older black man emerged from an office marked branch manager. He was perhaps 50, with silver at his temples and a stern professional bearing. "Jordan, what is the meaning of..." "Sir, you need to see this. Now." The urgency in Jordan's voice made Mr. Hayes move quickly. He came to the desk, looking annoyed, and glanced at the computer screen. His face went pale. For a long moment, no one spoke. Mr. Hayes stared at the screen, then at Maya, then back at the screen. "Mrs. Peterson?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "Maya Peterson?" "Yes," Maya said. Her heart was pounding. "What's wrong? Did my father do something illegal?" "Jordan," Mr. Hayes said sharply. "Close your window. Put up the next window please sign. Take Mrs. Peterson to my office immediately. Don't let anyone see this screen." The words came out like military commands. Jordan obeyed instantly, fumbling with the sign. "Please, ma'am," he said, his earlier professionalism replaced by something like awe. "Come with me." Mr. Hayes's office was small, cramped, lined with filing cabinets. He locked the door behind them and immediately turned on his computer. "Mrs. Peterson, I apologize for the confusion, but you've caught us completely off guard." His hands were shaking slightly as he typed. "When you presented this card, it triggered an alert in our system that I've never seen before in 30 years of banking." "An alert?" Maya's voice was thin. "Do I owe money? Is there debt?" "No, ma'am. Quite the opposite." He turned his monitor toward her. Jordan leaned in, still holding his breath. The screen didn't show a simple balance. It showed a corporate structure diagram, boxes and lines connecting to a central entity labeled Peterson Legacy Trust, LLC. "Ma'am," Mr. Hayes said slowly, "this isn't a personal savings account. This is a master control account for a limited liability company founded by your father, Arnold Peterson, in 1997. Maya's mind went blank. My father was a tobacco broker. He sold produce. That's what he wanted people to know, Mr. Hayes said gently. But according to these records, your father was also a land investor, a very successful one. He clicked a tab. Asset listings appeared. The company legally owns 1,847 acres across South Georgia. Pecan groves, farmland, timber rights. There are also mineral rights to 3 parcels and equity stakes in 4 agricultural cooperatives. The numbers swam in front of Maya's eyes. Acres, stakes, rights. But the most unusual part, Mr. Hayes continued, is this. He opened a document. Legal language filled the screen, but one section was highlighted. Maya read it 3 times. 4. He knew, she whispered. Daddy knew this could happen. There's more, ma'am. Mr. Hayes opened a drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope, thick and yellowed with age. Your father left this with instructions that it could only be opened by you, and only after the trust activated. With trembling hands, Maya broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper, covered in her father's careful handwriting. My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, 2 things are true. I'm gone, and you're in trouble. Baby girl, I was more than a tobacco broker. I was a land investor. Not the flashy kind, but the patient kind. I bought what others overlooked. Rural acres near growing cities. Farmland in the path of progress. Bit by bit, year by year. I never told you because I didn't want money to change you. You have your mother's soft heart. It's your greatest strength and your biggest vulnerability. I feared wealth would attract the wrong man, or poverty would trap you with one. So I built this clause. Forgive an old man's paranoia, but I've seen too many good black women ground down by husbands who took everything. The trust activates only when you need it most, not before. I don't know what brought you to this moment, but I know my girl. You're probably crying. You're probably thinking you failed. You didn't, baby. You survived. That's enough. Now don't cry. Don't beg. Don't shrink. Build something that matters. Make them regret underestimating you. Your ship is sinking? Good. Now you can use your anchor. I love you forever, Daddy. The tears came hard and fast. Maya pressed her father's letter to her chest and sobbed. For him. For herself. For the decade she'd lost. For the man who'd loved her enough to plan for her rescue 12 years after his death. When she could finally speak, she looked at Mr. Hayes through blurred vision. Is this real? We'll need to run a full title verification, but based on preliminary records, yes, ma'am. It's very real. How much? Her voice was barely a whisper. How much is it all worth? Mr. Hayes hesitated. A conservative estimate, assuming basic agricultural use, 4 to 5 million. If developed strategically, he trailed off. Considerably more. The park bench, the $12, Devon's contempt. All of it felt very far away now. Maya wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She sat up straighter. When she spoke again, her voice was steady. Mr. Hayes, I need 3 things. Of course, ma'am. Anything. First, I need cash. Enough for a hotel and some basic necessities. I don't have $1 to my name. Jordan, Mr. Hayes said immediately. Prepare a withdrawal from the trust's operating account. 5,000 should suffice? Yes, sir. Jordan practically ran from the office. Second, Maya continued, I need a recommendation for a business consultant. Someone who specializes in legacy assets. Someone good. Mr. Hayes nodded slowly. I know someone. His name is Marcus Williams, Harvard MBA. They call him the architect because he rebuilds failing companies. Very expensive, but very good. Set up a meeting. And the third thing? Maya looked at her father's letter one more time, then folded it carefully and put it in her wallet next to his photo. I need time to think. Of course. Mr. Hayes stood, extending his hand. Mrs. Peterson, on behalf of Heritage Trust, welcome. Your father was a remarkable man. Maya shook his hand. Her grip was firm. Yes, she said quietly. He was. As she left the bank 45 minutes later with $5,000 in cash, a new phone, and Marcus Williams's contact information, Maya Peterson looked nothing like the broken woman who'd spent the night on a park bench. She looked like a woman who'd just found her anchor, and she was ready to sail. 3 days later, Maya sat in a modest hotel room at the Marriott downtown. Clean, quiet, anonymous. Not the luxury she'd grown accustomed to at the Sovereign, but paid for with her own money from her father's account. That distinction mattered more than the thread count. She'd showered, slept in a real bed, eaten 3 meals a day, bought new clothes. Nothing fancy, just clean jeans and simple shirts that fit properly. Her reflection in the mirror looked almost human again. At 2 o'clock, her phone buzzed. The new phone, on the new plan she'd set up herself. "Ms. Peterson, this is Marcus Williams. Mr. Hayes from Heritage Trust gave me your information. I understand you'd like to discuss some recently activated assets?" His voice was professional, measured, with the faint trace of an East Coast accent. Not warm, but not cold either. Neutral. "Yes," Maya said. "Can we meet?" "I have an opening tomorrow at 10, my office in Midtown." "I'll be there." Marcus Williams's office occupied the 23rd floor of a glass tower on Peachtree, all clean lines and minimalist furniture. The man himself was perhaps 41, dressed in a crisp white shirt with no tie, wire-rimmed glasses, close-cropped hair going gray at the temples. He shook her hand with a firm grip and gestured to a chair facing his desk. "Mr. Hayes speaks highly of you," Marcus said, settling into his seat. "He also mentioned your situation is unusual. That's one word for it? Why don't you tell me what you need?" Maya pulled out the file Mr. Hayes had prepared. Deed records, asset listings, the trust documents. She slid it across the desk. Marcus spent 15 minutes reading in silence, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. When he finally looked up, his expression was thoughtful. "Your father was a very smart man." "Yes, he was. But I need to be blunt with you, Ms. Peterson. You have assets, but they're raw, undeveloped. Right now, they're just sitting there, not generating significant income, and that makes them vulnerable." "Vulnerable to what?" Marcus leaned forward. "To taxes, to legal claims, to your ex-husband, if he discovers them and argues they're marital property acquired during your marriage." He paused. "When did your father pass away?" 12 years ago, 2 months before I married Devon." "That helps. The assets predate the marriage, which strengthens your position, but you still have immediate problems." He ticked them off on his fingers. 1. Back property taxes. I'd estimate you owe approximately $130,000. 2. The pecan groves need active management. Harvest is in 6 weeks. Without proper oversight, you'll lose the crop and the revenue. 3. Several properties need maintenance. Fencing, irrigation systems, structural repairs. That's another $80,000 minimum. 4. If you want to develop any of this land, you'll need environmental studies, zoning approvals, infrastructure assessments, time and money. Maya's stomach tightened. "So I'm asset-rich but cash-poor." "Exactly. And there's a 5th problem." Marcus's eyes were sharp behind his glasses. "You don't know anything about agriculture or commercial property management, do you?" "No," Maya admitted. "I was studying architecture in college before I stopped." "Why did you stop?" "Devon needed help with his business. I put school on hold." "Then it was just always on hold." Marcus nodded slowly, no judgment in his expression. "Miss Peterson, I'm going to tell you what I tell all my clients. I'm expensive. My retainer is $15,000 and my hourly rate is $400. If I take you on, I will rebuild your father's legacy from the ground up. But it won't be fast, and it won't be easy, and there's no guarantee of success." Maya thought about the park bench, about Devon's contempt, about Brianna's smirk, about her father's letter. Build something that matters. "What would you do if I were your sister?" she asked. Marcus blinked, surprised by the question. Then a faint smile touched his lips. "If you were my sister, I'd tell you to move fast and smart. Pay the back taxes immediately using an emergency line of credit. Hire a property manager for the groves, someone local who knows the business. Form a new LLC to shield the assets legally. Stay invisible while you get your house in order. And most importantly, he leaned back in his chair. I tell you not to think about revenge yet. Build power first. Revenge is expensive. Maya felt something settle in her chest. This man wasn't offering false hope or easy promises. He was offering truth. I want to hire you, she said. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Marcus extended his hand across the desk. Then let's get to work. The law offices of Sterling and Associates smelled like old books and new money. Maya signed so many documents her hand cramped. Trust amendments, LLC formation papers, tax payment agreements, power of attorney forms. What does this one mean? She asked for the dozenth time, pointing to a clause dense with legal jargon. The attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Lisa Chen, explained patiently. Again. Marcus sat beside Maya, occasionally interjecting, translating the legal speak into plain English. After 3 hours, Maya's head throbbed. I can't do this, she said that evening, alone in her hotel room. The documents covered the bed like accusation. I don't understand half of what I'm signing. What if I'm making terrible mistakes? She picked up her phone to call Marcus, then stopped. Put it down. Picked it up again. Finally, she called. I'm drowning, she said when he answered. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody does at first, Marcus said. His voice was matter-of-fact, not condescending. You're learning a new language. Give yourself time. What if I don't have time? Then you learn faster. Miss Peterson, can I tell you something? Yes. I've worked with a lot of people who inherited wealth. Most of them either squander it or let others manage it while they play rich. You're not doing that. You're actually learning. That puts you ahead of 90% of heirs I've met. Maya wiped her eyes. I'm not my father. He knew what he was doing. No, you're not him. You're you. That might be better. After they hung up, Maya went back to the documents. Read them slower this time. Started making notes in the margins, writing down words to look up later. Easement, encumbrance, fiduciary duty, learning. You need new clothes, Marcus said bluntly when she met him at a coffee shop to review the week's progress. Maya looked down at her jeans and simple blouse. What's wrong with these? Nothing, if you're going to the grocery store. But if you're going to be CEO of Peterson Legacy Holdings, you need to look the part. People make judgments in the first 3 seconds. Fair or not, that's reality. He handed her a business card. This is Veronica, personal shopper. Tell her I sent you. She'll set you up with a professional wardrobe without bankrupting you. Maya bristled. I don't need someone to dress me like a doll. No, you need someone to dress you like a CEO. There's a difference. She almost argued. Then she remembered Devon's words, disheveled, unkempt. Fine, she said. I'll call her. Veronica met her at a boutique in Virginia Highland, a tall black woman with silver locks and an assessing eye. Marcus says you're building an empire, Veronica said, circling Maya like a sculptor examining marble. What kind of empire? I'm not sure yet. Then we'll dress you for possibilities. Veronica pulled items from racks with decisive efficiency. Tailored, professional, but not corporate robot. Strong colors. Navy, burgundy, forest green. Nothing apologetic. In the dressing room, Maya tried on a navy blazer that fit her shoulders perfectly. Paired with tailored gray pants and a silk blouse, she looked different, sharper, older, but in a good way. I look like someone who knows what she's doing, Maya said, surprised. Good, Veronica said. Fake it till you make it, honey. But you need one more thing. She handed Maya a pair of tortoiseshell reading glasses. I don't need glasses. They're not prescription, but they make you look smarter. Trust me. Maya put them on and looked in the mirror. The woman looking back was a stranger, confident, composed, formidable. Maybe this was who she could become. That same week, she cut her hair, not drastically, but enough to feel different. Her natural curls, which she'd been straightening for years because Devon preferred it smooth, were shaped into a short, elegant style that framed her face. At night, she studied. agricultural business journals, property management textbooks. She made flashcards of terms she didn't know and tested herself over breakfast. She was exhausted, but she was learning. "Ms. Peterson, this is Luther Williams. He managed these groves for your father 20 years ago. He's willing to come out of semi-retirement if the terms are right." Luther was a man in his 60s, weathered like old leather, with careful eyes and strong handshakes. They met at the property itself, Maya's first visit to the land that was supposedly hers. 1,847 acres. It was almost incomprehensible standing at the edge of it. Rows of pecan trees stretched toward the horizon, fields of red Georgia clay, patches of pine forest, more land than she could see from one vantage point. "Your daddy was good people," Luther said, walking beside her down a dirt road between the groves. "Quiet man, but sharp. Fair to his workers. Never cheated nobody." "What happened after he died?" Maya asked. "Property management company took over. They kept things running barely. But they didn't care about the land, just minimum maintenance to satisfy the trust requirements. Trees haven't been pruned proper in 5 years. Irrigation systems got leaks. Storage barns got a roof problem." Maya felt overwhelmed. "I don't know how to fix any of that." "That's why you hire people who do," Luther said. "I can manage the day-to-day if you give me a crew and a budget. But you gotta make the big decisions, ma'am. That's the owner's job." "What's the first big decision I need to make?" Luther pointed to the eastern section. "Those 50 acres there. Soil's played out for pecans, but it's perfect for blueberries. We could diversify, bring in revenue during different seasons. But that means investment. New plants, irrigation, labor." "How much?" $40,000 to do it right. More if you want organic certification, which I recommend. Market's growing for organic." Maya felt the familiar panic rising. $40,000 on something she didn't understand, recommended by someone she'd just met. But Luther's eyes were honest, and her father had trusted him. "Do it," she said. "Put together a proposal. We'll do it right." Luther smiled. "Yes, ma'am. You got your daddy's eyes, you know that?" After he left, Maya sat on the tailgate of her rental car. She'd traded in for something practical and looked at her inheritance. For the first time, it felt real. Peterson Legacy Holdings, LLC officially activated on September 28th. Maya Peterson, CEO. The first payroll went out to Luther and his small crew. The first property tax payment cleared. The first maintenance checks were written. And the first revenue came in. $47,000 from the pecan harvest, sold to a cooperative in Albany. Maya stared at the deposit notification on her phone. Money she'd earned. Well, money her land had earned, but she'd made it happen. She'd hired the right people, made the right decisions. It was the first money she'd earned in 10 years. She took herself to dinner at a modest restaurant, nothing fancy, just a neighborhood place with good food, and ordered whatever she wanted without checking the price first. Not because the price didn't matter, but because she'd earned this meal. For the first time since that night on the park bench, Maya felt like herself. No, not herself. Better than herself. Someone new she was becoming. That evening, Marcus called. "I need to show you something," he said. "Can you come to my office tomorrow morning?" "What is it?" "There's buzz in the Atlanta development community. Someone's trying to buy large parcels of land in South Georgia for a major resort project. They're offering 40% over market value to sellers." Maya's stomach tightened. "Who?" "The name's being kept quiet for now, but the project is called Taylor Pines Resort." The phone nearly slipped from Maya's hand. Taylor, Devon's last name. "He's looking for my land," she whispered. "That would be my guess. And Ms. Peterson? He doesn't know you own it." Maya's heart was racing, but her voice came out steady, cold. "Good," she said. "Let's keep it that way." Maya spent 3 days debating. Marcus offered to set up the meeting, to create the perfect trap, to let Devon walk right into it without knowing. But part of her hesitated. What if seeing him made her weak? What if those 10 years of conditioning, of believing he was smarter, more capable, more important, what if all that came rushing back the moment she saw his face? What if she crumbled? On the third night, she pulled out her father's letter and read it again. Don't beg, don't shrink. Make them regret underestimating you. Okay, Daddy, she said to the empty hotel room. Okay, she called Marcus. Set up the meeting. I'm ready. Marcus sent the official inquiry from Peterson Legacy Holdings. Interested in development proposal for South Georgia properties. Request formal presentation. Devon's response came within 2 hours. Eager, almost desperate. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday afternoon at Marcus's office. Maya arrived early. She wore the navy suit Veronica had chosen, her hair perfect, minimal makeup but professional. The reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked at her reflection in the elevator's mirrored walls and barely recognized herself. Good. Marcus's conference room was all glass and chrome, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Midtown Atlanta. Maya took the seat at the head of the long table, the power position. You don't have to do this, Marcus said quietly. I can handle the meeting alone. No, Maya said. I need to do this. At 2 p.m. exactly, the receptionist buzzed. Mr. Taylor and his architect are here. Send them in. The door opened. Devon walked in first, and Maya's breath caught despite herself. He looked the same. Expensive suit, confident swagger, that smile that used to make her heart skip. Behind him came a young woman carrying portfolio cases. Not Brianna, someone new already. The woman touched Devon's arm, familiar, possessive. Maya felt nothing. No, that wasn't true. She felt cold satisfaction. Devon's eyes swept the room, looking for the CEO. They passed right over Maya without recognition. She was just someone's assistant, surely there to take notes. Marcus Williams? Devon extended his hand to Marcus. Devon Taylor, Taylor Construction. This is Jennifer, my architect. Where's your CEO? Mr. Peterson, wasn't it? Ms. Peterson, Marcus corrected, not shaking his hand. And she's right there. Marcus gestured to the head of the table. Devon turned. His eyes met Maya's. For 3 full seconds, he didn't recognize her. His brain couldn't process the woman in the power suit with the sharp haircut and the cold eyes as his ex-wife. Then understanding crashed over his face like a wave. His mouth fell open. The color drained from his cheeks. Maya? It came out as a croak. Maya didn't stand, didn't smile, just looked at him with the same neutral expression she'd give any business associate. Hello, Devon. Please sit down. Her voice was steady, professional, utterly devoid of emotion. I understand you have a proposal for my land. Devon stood frozen. Jennifer looked between them, confused. This is... Devon struggled for words. How did you... Sit down, Mr. Taylor, Marcus said coldly. You have 20 minutes to impress us. Devon sank into a chair like his legs had given out. Jennifer sat beside him, still bewildered. Maya removed her glasses, cleaning them with a cloth from her pocket. The gesture gave her something to do with her hands so they wouldn't shake. Your proposal, Mr. Taylor. I'm waiting. Devon had prepared a pitch. Maya could see the moment he tried to pull himself together, tried to access his professional persona. He opened his laptop with trembling hands. The Taylor Pines Resort is an exclusive eco-luxury destination. 500 rooms, championship golf course, spa facilities, farm-to-table restaurants featuring local Georgia ingredients. His voice gained confidence as he fell into familiar territory. Jennifer pulled up architectural renderings on the screen. Elegant buildings nestled in pine forests. A lake with paddle boats. It was beautiful, Maya had to admit. We're projecting $200 million in total development costs, with revenue potential of $40 million annually within 5 years. But the key is securing the right land. We need approximately 800 contiguous acres. And your offering? Marcus asked. $6 million cash for 800 acres. That's 40% over current market value for agricultural land in the region. Marcus made a note on his legal pad. Our preliminary assessment values that land at $9 to $12 million if properly developed. Why would we accept 6? Devon's jaw tightened, the first flash of his old arrogance. Because development takes capital you don't have. I'm offering cash now. Otherwise, you watch your land sit there producing minimal income for years. Maya spoke for the first time since telling him to sit. You seem very confident about our financial position, Mr. Taylor. How do you know what capital we have or don't have? Devin looked at her directly now, and she saw the calculation in his eyes. He thought he knew her, thought he could manipulate her. Maya, Ms. Peterson. He tried a softer tone, the one he used to use when he wanted something. Look, I know things ended badly between us, but this is business. We can both win here. You need a developer with experience, and I need land. We're perfect partners. Partners? Maya repeated. Like we were partners in our marriage? When you took everything? His face flushed. That was personal. This is business. Then let's keep it business. Maya nodded to Marcus. Tell Mr. Taylor about his company's financial health. Marcus opened a folder. Taylor Construction, Inc. currently has $340,000 in outstanding invoices to 8 different suppliers. Payments overdue 90 to 120 days. Additionally, you're personally guarantor on $1.2 million in business loans coming due in 6 months. Devin's face went white. How did you— That's private. Nothing's private in business, Mr. Taylor, Marcus said. Due diligence is standard practice. Maya watched the truth settle over Devin's features. He wasn't here because he was thriving. He was here because he was desperate. Taylor Pines wasn't ambition. It was a life raft. You're drowning, Maya said softly. This project isn't about growth. It's about survival. Devin's mask shattered. He slammed his hand on the table. You think you're so smart now? Some land from your daddy makes you better than me? I built my company while you were playing housewife. Jennifer shifted uncomfortably, clearly wanting to be anywhere else. Maya stood slowly. She walked to the window, looking out at the Atlanta skyline, giving herself a moment to breathe through the anger. When she turned back, her voice was quiet but sharp as glass. You built it? Let me remind you of some history, Devin. I managed your books for the first 5 years, found accounting errors that would have sunk you. I designed the pitch deck that got your first major investor. I edited every proposal until you hired someone to replace me. I contributed $40,000 of my inheritance to your seed funding. And I paid for everything. Devin was standing now shouting. That penthouse, your car, your clothes, with money from our joint account. The account I put my inheritance into. Money you told me was our future. Maya's voice never rose. She didn't need to shout. Turns out you meant your future with Brianna, and Jennifer, and whoever else. Jennifer stood abruptly. I'm going to wait outside. She left. Smart woman. Devin and Maya faced each other across the conference table. 10 years of marriage. 10 years of her making herself smaller so he could feel bigger. Not anymore. Maya sat back down in the CEO's chair. Here's my counterproposal, she said. I'll lease you 200 acres for your resort. 99-year ground lease. Annual payment of $400,000, escalating 3% yearly, plus 5% of gross revenue from all resort operations. Devin's eyes went huge. That's insane! I'd be paying you forever. Yes, just like I would have been supporting you forever. Just like I gave you the best years of my life. Fair is fair, Devin. No court would force me to lease you anything at all, Maya interrupted. This is my offer. Take it or leave it. You have 48 hours to decide. She stood. The meeting was over. Maya, wait. Ms. Peterson, she corrected. And we're done here. Marcus will show you out. That evening, Maya sat in her hotel room with a bottle of wine she didn't open. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. She'd done it. Faced him. Didn't crumble. Her phone rang. Marcus. He'll take it, Marcus said. He's desperate. I'd bet my license on it. I know. Silence on the line. Maya, how are you really? The question, gentle and unexpected, nearly broke her. Terrible, she admitted. Powerful, sick, strong, all at once. Is that normal? Very. Maya laughed, but it came out shaky. I keep thinking, $6 million is more money than I ever imagined. I could take his offer, disappear, never see him again, start over somewhere new. You could, Marcus agreed. But you'd always wonder what you could have built. Your father didn't leave you money, Maya. He left you options. The question is, who do you want to become? Maya looked at her father's photo on the nightstand. I want to build something that lasts, she said slowly. Something good, not just revenge. Then that's your answer. After they hung up, Maya finally opened the wine, poured one glass, raised it in a silent toast to the woman on the park bench who hadn't known she'd survive. But she had. Devin's attorney called at 9:00 a.m. My client accepts the lease terms. Maya closed her eyes. Good. Have the papers drawn up. But even as she said it, something nagged at her. Devin had agreed too easily. Too quickly. What was she missing? 1 week after Devin signed the lease agreement, Marcus called an emergency meeting. We have a problem. Maya drove to his office with her stomach in knots. A problem. Of course. Nothing could ever be simple. Marcus's expression was grim when she arrived. He had files spread across his desk, and his usual composed demeanor was cracked at the edges. Our due diligence team finished their deep dive into Taylor Construction, he said without preamble. It's worse than we thought. Much worse. He turned his laptop toward her. Point 1. Material fraud. Devin's been using substandard materials on projects while charging clients for premium grade. Grade C cement instead of grade A. Recycled rebar instead of new. The markup is approximately 40% per project. It's illegal and dangerous. Maya's stomach turned. Dangerous how? Structurally compromised buildings. Marcus clicked to another file. Point 2. Contractor abuse. He systematically underpays black-owned subcontracting firms, delays their payments for months, sometimes years, knowing they don't have resources to sue him. The list of names on the screen made Maya's heart ache. Small businesses, people trying to survive. And point 3. Marcus's jaw tightened. 3 buildings with serious code violations that he covered up, but this is the worst. He pulled up inspection reports. An affordable housing complex called Riverside Towers. Foundation cracks. Structural instability. The building inspector flagged it 8 months ago as potentially dangerous. Devin buried the report. Paid off the inspector to keep quiet. Maya, there are 47 families living in that building right now, including children. The room tilted. Maya gripped the edge of the desk. If that building fails, she whispered, people die. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Maya stared at the inspection reports, at the photos of cracks in concrete, at the list of residents, names, ages, children's ages. The Johnson family, 3 kids under 10. The Chen family, elderly couple on fixed income. The Martinez family, single mother with twins. What are my options? Maya asked. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Legally, you could report him. Send this to the city building inspector, the news media, the district attorney. Devin would be arrested, likely face 5 to 7 years in prison. Justice served. But if he's arrested, Taylor Pines dies. Your lease agreement becomes worthless. You lose the revenue stream. And you'll be tied to him in court battles for years. He'll claim you sabotaged him, that you knew about this when you made the lease deal. It'll be messy, expensive, and very public. Maya felt sick. So my choice is profit or safety. I'm not saying that. That's exactly what you're saying. Maya stood, pacing to the window. I can keep the lease, take his money, and turn a blind eye while 47 families live in a building that might collapse. Or I can do the right thing and lose everything I've built. Not everything. You still have the land, the other revenue streams, but not justice, not revenge, not the satisfaction of watching him pay. Maya's voice cracked. After everything he did to me, I finally have him exactly where I want him. And you're telling me I have to let him go? Marcus said nothing, because there was nothing to say. Maya drove back to her hotel in a daze. In the passenger seat sat copies of the inspection reports, evidence, proof, power. She could destroy him with these documents. But 47 families would still be living in an unsafe building until the city evacuated them. Until she reported it, they were in danger. Every day she waited was a day someone could get hurt. In her hotel room, Maya laid out the documents on the bed. Beside them, she placed her father's letter. Build something that matters. Was revenge something that mattered? Or was it just empty? She picked up her phone 5 different times to call Marcus, to tell him to do it, to report Devin, to hell with the consequences. Each time she put the phone down. What would her father do? She remembered Arnold working with contractors on their old house in Alabama. Remembered him saying, "A man's character isn't what he builds, it's what he builds it with." Devin had built with lies, with exploitation, with materials that could kill people. At midnight, Maya finally made the call. "Marcus, report him." "Maya, are you sure? You understand what this means?" "I understand. I lose the lease. I lose the leverage. He might even sue me, but I can't let people get hurt just so I can have my revenge. That's not who I want to be." Silence on the line. Then, "Your father would be proud." "I hope so," Maya said, "because it's the most expensive decision I've ever made." The news broke on a Friday morning. Taylor Construction under investigation for fraud and safety violations. Riverside Towers evacuated, 47 families displaced. Developer Devin Taylor arrested on multiple charges. Maya watched the news in her hotel room, her coffee growing cold in her hands. They showed footage of Devin in handcuffs being led into a police car. His face was a mask of rage and disbelief. They showed footage of families leaving Riverside Towers with hastily packed bags, children crying, elderly residents looking lost. They showed the cracks in the foundation, the proof of fraud. The inspector who'd accepted bribes, now under arrest himself. Maya's phone rang. "Marcus, it's done," he said. "Taylor Pines is officially dead. Your lease is void. Devin's being held on $2 million bail, which he can't make. The DA is talking about 15 counts total." "And the families from Riverside?" "The city's placing them in temporary housing. Several nonprofits are stepping up to help. They're safe, Maya, because of you." Maya closed her eyes. "I did the right thing." "Yes, you did." "It doesn't feel like winning." "The right thing rarely does. Not immediately." After they hung up, Maya sat in silence. She'd given up guaranteed income to save people she'd never met. She'd sacrificed revenge for ethics. Devin was going to prison, but not because she'd destroyed him, because he'd destroyed himself, and she'd simply told the truth. Was that enough? She looked at her father's photo. "I hope this is what you meant, Daddy," she whispered, "because I just gave up everything to do it." But that night, for the first time since the park bench, Maya slept soundly, because she could look at herself in the mirror, and that, she was learning, was worth more than revenge. 2 weeks after Devin's arrest, Maya sat in the small office she'd rented in a converted warehouse in College Park. Nothing fancy, just a desk, 2 chairs, and a window overlooking the railroad tracks. But it was hers. The lease money was gone. The revenge was over, and she had no idea what came next. Luther knocked on her door frame. "Ms. Maya, got a minute?" "Of course." He settled into the chair across from her, his weathered hands folded in his lap. "I've been thinking. Your daddy, he didn't just own this land. He was part of the community around it. You should meet the folks who live near the properties." "Why?" "Because they knew him, and they need to know you." The following Saturday, Luther drove her to a small church in South Georgia, where the community gathered for a potluck after services. Maya felt out of place in her tailored suit among these people in their Sunday best, carrying casserole dishes and sweet tea. An elderly woman approached, her silver hair in a neat bun, her eyes sharp and kind. "You're Arnold's girl," she said. Not a question. "Yes, ma'am." "Maya Peterson." "Ida Freeman. I run the church auxiliary." She took Maya's hands in hers. "Your daddy was a good man. A quiet man, but good. You know what he did for us?" Maya shook her head. Over the next hour, Ida and others told her stories Maya had never heard. How Arnold had given the Johnson family a cottage rent-free for 2 years after their house burned down. How he'd sent materials to rebuild the church roof after it collapsed, no charge. How he'd quietly paid property taxes for elderly residents who couldn't afford them, never asking for recognition. "He never told me," Maya said, her throat tight. "He wouldn't," Ida said. "That wasn't his way. But baby, we're being pushed out now. Developers buying up land, raising prices. This community's been here 100 years, and we're losing it piece by piece." Maya looked around the small church, at the families, the children, the elderly folks who'd built their lives here. She thought about luxury resorts and wealthy vacationers, about profit margins and return on investment. Then she thought about her father's letter. Build something that matters. What if, Maya began slowly, the idea forming as she spoke, what if instead of selling to developers, I built something for you? Affordable housing, real jobs, a community center. Ida's eyes filled with tears. Baby, that would be a miracle. But that kind of project, it takes money, time, and no offense, but you're one woman. "I know," Maya said, "but I have to try." Marcus was skeptical when she pitched the idea. "Community development is the slowest way to build wealth," he said, pulling up financial projections. "You could sell to developers, make millions in 2 years. This plan? 10 years minimum to see significant return." "I know. You'll need grants, partnerships, city approvals. It's complicated." "I know." Marcus looked at her over his glasses. "You're sure about this?" Maya thought about the park bench, about Devon's contempt, about 47 families she'd never met who were safe because she'd chosen ethics over profit. "I'm sure." Marcus smiled. "Then let's build something that lasts." The next 6 months were a blur of work. Maya applied for development grants, partnered with Habitat for Humanity, learned about zoning laws and environmental impact studies, made mistakes, learned from them, tried again. Marcus taught her to structure it as sustainable business, not charity. If it's not profitable, it won't survive. We need to do well while doing good. She secured funding for 12 starter homes, broke ground in March, visited the site weekly, learning construction terminology, understanding the process from foundation to roof. And slowly, imperceptibly, something shifted between her and Marcus. It wasn't dramatic, just small moments, working late, sharing Chinese takeout at her desk, him explaining financial models with patience when she didn't understand, her making him laugh with stories about Luther's colorful vocabulary when equipment broke down. One evening, after a particularly grueling city council meeting where they'd finally secured the permits they needed, Marcus drove her back to her apartment. She'd moved out of the hotel into a modest one-bedroom in East Atlanta. "You were impressive tonight," he said as they sat in his car outside her building. "The way you handled Councilman Roberts' questions about sustainability, that was perfect." "You coached me for 3 hours yesterday," Maya said. "I just repeated what you taught me." "No. You understood it, internalized it, made it yours. That's different." He looked at her, really looked at her. "When we started this, I thought you were just another client. Now, Maya's heart was beating faster. "Now I think you're the most remarkable person I've ever worked with. And Maya, I've worked with a lot of people." The air in the car felt charged. Maya wanted to lean in, to close the distance between them. But something held her back. "I'm still scared," she admitted. "Every day. I still don't know what I'm doing half the time." "That's what makes you remarkable. You do it anyway." Maya smiled. "We should probably keep this professional." "Probably," Marcus agreed, but neither of them moved. Finally, Maya opened the car door. "Thank you, Marcus, for everything." "Any time." As she walked to her apartment, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in over a year. Hope. Not just for her business, but for herself. For the possibility of connection that didn't require her to make herself smaller. Maybe, eventually, when the wounds were less raw, there could be something more. but not yet. Right now, she needed to finish becoming herself. 8 months after Devon's arrest, Maya received a letter forwarded from her old address at the Sovereign. Devon's handwriting, a request to visit. She almost threw it away. Instead, she called Marcus. "Should I go? Do you want closure?" "I don't know what I want." "Then maybe you need to find out." The Georgia State Prison visiting room smelled like industrial cleaner and despair. Maya sat at a small table, her hands folded, waiting. When they brought Devon in, she barely recognized him. Prison had stripped away the polish. He was thinner, grayer, the swagger gone. Just a middle-aged man in an orange jumpsuit, facing consequences. He sat down across from her, unable to meet her eyes. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. Maya said nothing, just waited. "I guess you're here to gloat," Devon continued. "To see me like this." "I don't know why I'm here," Maya admitted. Silence stretched between them. All those years of marriage, and they had nothing to say. Finally, Devon spoke. "I heard about your project, the affordable housing. Very noble." "It's not nobility, it's business." Devon laughed bitterly. "Right, business. That's what I told myself too. Every corner I cut, every contractor I screwed, every lie, it was all just business." Maya waited. This was the most honest he'd ever been with her. "You want to know the truth?" Devon's voice cracked. "I was terrified. Every single day. Terrified I'd fail. Terrified I'd end up like my father, working construction until his body gave out at 55. So I cheated. I climbed over whoever I had to, including you." "You didn't have to," Maya said softly. "I know that now. Sitting in a cell 23 hours a day gives you time to think." He finally looked at her. "I'm sorry, Maya, for what I did, for who I became. I loved you once. I really did. But I loved success more, and then I couldn't tell the difference between ambition and greed." Maya felt the old pain, but it was distant now, like a scar instead of a wound. "I loved you too," she said. "That's the part that still hurts. Not the betrayal. The fact that I loved someone who didn't really exist. Or maybe you did exist once and you killed that person for money. Maybe. Does it matter?" "No," Maya said. "Not anymore." Devon leaned forward. "Do you hate me?" Maya considered the question honestly. "I did. God, I hated you. Some days I still do. But mostly," she searched for the right words, "mostly I feel sad. For both of us. For all the time we wasted." "You didn't waste it. Look at you now. I would have preferred to learn these lessons another way." "Me too." They sat in silence for another moment. Then Maya stood. "I'm not coming back," she said. "I know." Devon's eyes were wet. "I hope you find happiness, Maya. Real happiness. You deserve it. I hope you find peace. I really do." As she walked out of the prison, Maya cried in the parking lot. Not for Devon, but for the woman she'd been who thought she needed his approval to exist. For the years she couldn't get back. For the marriage that was always an illusion. But then she wiped her tears, got in her car, and drove toward her life. The chapter was closed. Maya stood in front of the Arnold and Maya Peterson Community Center, watching families arrive for the grand opening. The building was modest but beautiful. Brick and glass, solar panels on the roof, a community garden already flourishing beside it. 45 families now lived in Peterson Legacy Community Homes. The agricultural co-op had 32 members and was turning a profit. The medical clinic, partnered with Grady Hospital, served the whole region. It wasn't a luxury resort. It would never make her as wealthy as Devon's plan might have, but it was real, and it would last. Luther stood beside her, wearing a suit jacket over his work shirt. "Your daddy would be proud, Ms. Maya. Not because you're successful, because you're good." "I hope so," Maya said. Martha Peterson, recovered from her illness, touched her daughter's arm. "I know so. But baby, are you proud?" Maya considered the question. A year ago, she'd been homeless, broken, lost. Now she was CEO of a growing company. She'd built homes, created jobs, served her community. She'd faced her ex-husband and walked away with her dignity intact. "I am," Maya said, "not because of what I built, because of who I became. I like her. Finally." "What about Marcus?" Martha asked with a knowing smile. "I see how he looks at you." Maya glanced across the courtyard where Marcus stood talking with Ida Freeman, both of them laughing. Over the months, their professional relationship had deepened into friendship, and friendship into something more. They were taking it slow. She was in no hurry anymore. "We're good," Maya said. "Really good." The ceremony was simple. Ida spoke about community and resilience. Maya gave a short speech about her father's quiet legacy and second chances. When she unveiled this plaque, Arnold and Maya Peterson Community Center, where anchors become wings, the crowd applauded, and Maya felt her father's presence like a warm hand on her shoulder. That evening, Maya sat on the porch of her small house, modest, paid for in cash, built on a corner of her land. Marcus brought sweet tea and settled into the chair beside her. "There's a developer interested in partnering on Phase 2, he said. "Mixed-income townhomes. Could be good revenue." "Set up a meeting," Maya said, "but on my terms." "Always," Marcus grinned. They sat in comfortable silence, watching fireflies light up the dusk. Children's laughter drifted from the playground. Somewhere a dog barked. Normal sounds. Beautiful sounds. Maya pulled out her wallet. Inside, her father's photo smiled up at her. Behind it, the faded blue debit card that had changed everything. She took the card out, holding it up to the fading light. "The anchor worked, Daddy," she whispered. "Now I'm sailing." She tucked it back carefully next to a new photo. The community center opening, Ida hugging Maya, both of them laughing. Marcus reached over and took her hand. "You did good, Maya Peterson." "We did good," she corrected. As darkness fell over the land her father had left her, the inheritance that was never just about money, but about options, about dignity, about becoming someone she could respect, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of purpose. Not the end of her story, but the beginning of her legacy. The park bench was a year and a lifetime away. The woman who'd sat there, broken and afraid, barely recognizable in the woman Maya had become. And that woman, strong, scarred, still learning, still growing, was exactly who she'd needed to be all along. She just hadn't known it yet. 6 months later, Maya received a letter from Brianna Cole. It was short, awkward, clearly difficult to write. "Peterson, I know I have no right to contact you. What I did was inexcusable, but I'm in therapy now, trying to understand why I made the choices I made. I saw the news about the community center. You built something beautiful from the ashes of what I helped destroy. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know you inspired me to try to be better. I'm back in school, social work. Maybe someday I can help someone the way you're helping your community. I'm sorry. Truly." Brianna Maya folded the letter and put it in a drawer. She didn't respond. Brianna's redemption wasn't her responsibility, but she hoped the young woman found her way. Everyone deserved a second chance. After all, Maya had taken hers and built a legacy. That night, Maya made breakfast for dinner, her favorite comfort food. Scrambled eggs, toast, fresh peach jam from the co-op's harvest. As she ate alone in her small kitchen, she thought about Pamela Green's story from the news, about families fractured by addiction and blame, about parents and children who lost their way. She wrote a check, $10,000 to a local addiction recovery center. The note read, "In honor of all the parents who did their best, and all the children who lost their way, may they find their anchors." The next morning, Marcus picked her up early. They had a meeting with city planners about Phase 2, then lunch with Luther to discuss expanding the blueberry operation, then the co-op's quarterly review. Her calendar was full. Her life was full. And for the first time in 10 years, Maya Peterson was full too. Not with someone else's dreams, but with her own. Not with fear and smallness, but with purpose and possibility. She'd fallen from a penthouse to a park bench, and she'd risen to build something that mattered. The inheritance wasn't the land. It was the choice to become herself.